All right, so this is the podcast on leadership. My name is Justin Portwood. I've got with me my roommate and buddy Rojas, Alejandro Rojas. So Rojas, thanks for coming out tonight and being on the podcast. So we have a lot of experience actually on leadership, having gone to New Mexico Military Institute. You know, we got a good way, like we had a good experience of, getting to experience a lot of different people who, were leaderships in different capacities, like whether it be logistical or hands-on leadership with people, we got to do a lot of that. So like, tell me a little bit of your experience on your leadership at Navy.
I was in charge of a bunch of kids, right?
Yeah, I mean, you were my platoon sergeant. There was like 30 of us.
Yeah, so you met me as the guy who was in charge of you. Now we're friends, right? But back then it was different because when you're in the leadership position, you're literally responsible for however many people are under you and stuff. So you need to make sure that the people under you are taking care of the people who are under them, and it's a whole deal because it's kind of like it relies a lot on communication and the way things are structured, I would say.
So like, kind of just by making sure that your guys are taking, like, the people directly under you are taken care of, and that they're taking care of their people. It makes it so everything's
like
working
a chain.
well.
Yeah,
exactly.
it's
Like trickles down essentially.
Yeah.
So I just showed you that video with Dwight becoming the manager, and I know that you love The Office a lot, and I like The Office too. It's a funny show, but watching that, I kind of looked back and like kind of compared that to a lot of the people that I saw over there at Navy, and a lot of the people that I've seen in the Army. Like people that really put themselves out there as a leader, and it can be kind of weird. So what I want to ask you is, like, what are some of the leadership attributes that you noticed from the video?
On Dwight?
On Dwight, yeah.
Well, he's clearly very structured, which I feel like is a good thing as far as like efficiency in an organization, like a company. He's very structured. He has like his own little like regiment, I would say.
So would you say, like, on that, like, is that more, like holding up his subordinates to standards, or?
Yeah, like he has a very clear like set of rules to follow, which can be a good and a bad thing. I would say mostly good, because if you don't have a structure, if you don't have like a way that you need things to be done, then people are just gonna do whatever they want. Whatever's more convenient. And usually that's not the best outcome.
Right, and I agree with you on that, but looking at how Dwight carried that out,
well, that's the other thing. Like, he's also like he got the emotions got the worst of him pretty much.
Yeah.
So he's very structured, but again, he like a lot of emotions, and that doesn't mean necessarily like crying or getting sad or anything like that. It's more like, he wanted to show off. He had that. Well, I don't think I can say that here, but he had that excitement over having power.
Yeah.
That eventually screwed him over by shooting a gun inside the office.
Right.
So, and also the way that he treats his subordinates is obviously unprofessional because of these emotions that he has towards them.
Yeah.
And the way that they get along. So I would say that's, the structure and the regiment, the way that he ran things was actually probably good, but the way he handled situations, not good.
Yeah, I agree. I put that, he was very authoritarian.
He was,
like, and that kind of goes back into, like that regiment, that he was the one in charge, like, he was like, he wanted everybody to know that, hey, I'm the manager, temporary manager, but he wanted everybody to know. So autocratic as well, like pretty much like you said, like very, very structured, he had very, strict ways that he wanted to go about things.
Yeah.
I also put pace setting. Even though that he was very harsh with his subordinates, he really did. If you watch the show, he really does set kind of a good pace because he is a good salesman. He does really know what he's doing in that sense. So I feel like him being put as the manager has his benefit in that sense because
for sure.
he actually definitely knows how to do it. I mean, I don't know if he's Michael Scott, definitely not Michael Scott.
Yeah.
But anyways, so what about some of the attitudes that you saw Dwight have during his time as manager?
His attitudes, like what?
Just his, I don't know, kind of his emotions. So, for example, I put that he was very assertive. And we've kind of touched on that a little bit, but he's assertive. He's a hard ass, definitely old fashioned kind of he's definitely because he wasn't in the flow. Because touching on him bringing the gun into work, it wasn't just he brought a gun into work. It was he brought a gun in, a big revolver with a huge holster loaded, and like Andy said, he was dude, guns make me really uncomfortable. And it's as a manager, he should be able to, be sensitive to his subordinates' feelings.
I guess that's true. He doesn't really. Because he was definitely putting what he wanted above anyone else. I'm sure he wouldn't have taken any comments or critics or suggestions or anything.
Yeah, because look what he does with Jim is he immediately he says, I need you to be on your best behavior. I can't.
Well, that's expected too. I don't think it was wrong of him to ask.
Right, but he moves forward from that and says, "Oh, you're pre-fired."
But that's because of what Jim said back.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I guess Jim shouldn't have said that to the manager, but
that's how they get along.
Yeah, but that's kind of just
that's part of the
Dwight
show.
And Jim. I'm talking more in the sense of a leader. That's kind of Jim.
Well, in the sense of a leader, I would ask my people to be on their best behavior. If someone important's coming in, obviously you want them in their best behavior, right? Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's fair of him to ask. Shouldn't fire people being an acting manager, obviously, but
yeah,
I would say that's right. He's pretty assertive and he.
Right, but that's what I meant. He was saying, "Oh, I'm the manager," but he was just the temporary manager. He didn't have the authority to fire.
Yeah.
And for him to go and say, "You're pre-fired," that's really just his the power going to his head.
It's his ego.
It's his ego.
Yeah.
So, anyways, on top of that, do you think that Dwight would be your ideal leader?
Honestly, man, I'm the type of person who I like to know what I'm supposed to do. I like, if I'm not in charge, I like to know exactly what I need to do. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't be opposed to having Dwight as a manager. Obviously, in the show, he's really exaggerated. He's a big, doo-doo head. He's not very nice. He's not very nice. So I don't like that. If I had a leader like that, I would take it, but I would expect him to be nicer. More human, more emotionally intelligent. Not be mean to subordinates for no reason at all and stuff, and I don't know, also be able to take into account what we want as subordinates, what we feel. Mm-hmm. So I think it works, honestly. And when I'm in an organization, I think of myself as part of the organization. So I want it to do well. Mm-hmm. And I feel like having a manager like Dwight could lead to really good results.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I'd be down.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that I feel the same way, you know, because I've had my fair share of like experience with people with like leaders like Dwight, or who had traits like Dwight, leadership traits in the Army, and you know, like these guys have been, you know, good leaders. You know, like I can remember that was what my drill sergeants were like. But I mean, I guess that's kind of what it's like for everybody in basic. But still, you know, like these guys were hard asses, but they still, you know,
They did a good job, yeah.
they did a good job. Like they set the standard. Like it was, you know, you're on, you know, you're on our time. You're gonna do it like this. You know, this is how you're gonna do it. Like,
dude,
had it all set
and
up.
you've seen it. I'm sure, like I've seen it, so I'm sure you've seen it. That
Mhm.
those leaders, those groups turn out to, you know, create the best people, and like
Right.
they just have the best results. You know.
Yeah.
It
And
it might suck for a bit while you're getting to it, but in the end, you have the best results. So.
Right, yeah, but I mean that's like a whole thing on like, you know, the military and whatever, but like no, I guess it does go back to leadership as well. You know, just like those leaders will really like challenge you mentally, you know, because like I've seen it in a lot of places that I've worked that people will like be challenged by their leadership and be like, oh fuck this guy, you know, I don't want to do what they say, because you know they might be like coming off as an asshole when really all they want is like, you know, shit done their way.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, like you said, I mean, I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world, but I mean, I feel like I have some history with it too, because like if you remember when I was a junior as a platoon sergeant myself, like I was yelling all the time, you know, like I was a hothead, like, you know, I kind of made it seem like, you know, I was putting myself out there, like I was really like, you know, acting like Dwight in a way, like, you know, people needed to know that I was a platoon sergeant. But the thing is that like after having gone through that and lived that, you know, I kind of cooled down a little bit and took a step back and realized, okay, well,
You need
sure,
a balance.
sure, it might have been good for, you know, that first week that they were there to like, you know, just give them a little shock factor or whatever, because it was military school. But at the same time, you know, I pulled back, and then the next year I came and I was a first sergeant, and I used that history, like knowing when to actually like use that to, you know, get on people, whereas, you know,
Instead of doing it all the time.
exactly, you know, using
Yeah.
different strategies for different situations and with different people, because people will respond differently to
Oh yeah.
leadership styles, you know, because like not every style is gonna work. And I feel like, you know, and then with all those athletes and college kids and high school kids mixed together, like it was, yeah, you really did have to learn how to work with a whole variety of different people. Like it was ridiculous. But anyways, Ross, I want to say thank you again for coming on the podcast tonight.
Thank you for
appreciate it.
inviting me, man. I've been looking forward to this for a couple months now.
Hell
so
yeah, man. Well,
anytime, bro.
hey, have a good night.